Well, Your Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends in the Arctic, I'm honored to stand here as part of this friendly Arctic Circle, which is dynamic, strong, and growing. And if I may offer you a few perspectives on the Arctic from Russia. No secret, the future and welfare of my country depends heavily on the development of the Arctic. It's closely linked to the region. The Arctic regions of Russia generate 10% of Russia's GDP and 20% of Russia's total exports. The role of the Arctic in the development of Russia will significantly increase in the years to come. And our priorities and national interests in the region are clearly defined in the strategic planning documents approved at the highest government level. There are four basic principles. First, to utilize the resources of the Arctic zone of the Russian Federation to the benefit of sustainable development of Russia. Second, to ensure peace and cooperation in the Arctic. Third, preserve the unique Arctic ecosystems. And last, to develop the Northern Sea route. Very pragmatic. What is remarkable? A similar approach is taken in Arctic strategies of other Arctic states and, for example, the European Union Arctic strategy as well. That is why Russia is committed to constructive cooperation with foreign partners from both Arctic and non-Arctic states in bilateral and multilateral formats. And we welcome the integration of the UN Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2030 into the work of the Arctic Council. The Arctic Council, we do consider it the main intergovernmental forum which has proved to be an efficient vehicle for ensuring sustainable development and working out collective approaches to challenges and emerged opportunities in the region. We wish every success to the current Finnish presidency, and we share the aims and goals of the Finnish presidency. Russia stands for a result-oriented cooperation in the Arctic, which will produce visible achievements for the peoples living in the high north. I would like to mention, for example, here a recent Russian initiative aimed at promoting high-quality school and preschool education, which is to be implemented under the auspices of Sustainable Development Working Group of the Arctic Council. Moreover, Russia is convinced that sustainable development in the high north could be achieved only by economic engagement and introducing economic activities to the region in international cooperation and broader international cooperation. This is the only way to promote well-being, ensure quality education, build resilient infrastructure, reduce inequality, and make local communities safe. Russia intends to promote the economic activities and at the same time to ensure the interests of the people living in the high north. For example, this summer, Russian parliament will start deliberations over a draft law aimed at facilitating the creation of the so-called mainstay areas for development of the region. In effect, pillar zones or Arctic hubs. One example of such an Arctic hub, the flagship project of the international cooperation is Yamal LNG. It's a huge enterprise. It is implemented with more than 15 foreign countries as shareholders or contractors. There is a gas processing factory which has been built producing annually more than 16 million tons of liquefied natural gas. And it's the northernmost facility of this kind. It is situated at 71.3 degrees northern latitude. which gives you some economy, by the way, because it's cheaper to condense and to liquefy gas in this Arctic cold. So 4 years ago in Sabeta, this is the site, lived about 200 people. Now it's 30,000. And it's only one example of today's developments in the Russian Arctic and emerging business opportunities. Another development is, of course, the prospects of the Northern Sea route. As a result of the upsurge of economic activities in the Arctic, mainly in Russia, we are witnessing an dramatic increase in Arctic shipping. Around 10 million tons of first and foremost oil and gas were delivered last year through the Northern Sea route. This year we expect 14 million tons, and the volume could reach to at least 35-40 million tons by 2025. And it's important to know that at the same time, Russia is committed to the Paris Climate Agreement and is preparing for its ratification. It's important to minimize the effect of the increased economic activities in the Arctic on the environment and the traditional way of living of the indigenous peoples. As a response to the increased shipping in the Arctic Ocean, Russia and Finland co-lead the work within the Arctic Council Working Group on protection of the Arctic marine environment, on the implementation of the Polar Code adopted by the International Maritime Organization. Our major oil and gas companies are also undertaking measures which should allow in the near future to utilize up to 100% of the associated gas. In short, Russia considers the Arctic a territory of constructive dialogue and cooperation. There are no acute or even eventual possible disputes in the Arctic over the maritime boundaries or over the access to mineral or biological resources. The international law in general and the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea in particular are capable of ensuring the rights of the coastal and all the other states in the Arctic. Later this month, in Greenland, representatives of the Arctic states and partners will gather to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Ilulissat Declaration. In this document, the coastal Arctic states declared commitment to the international law and orderly settlement of any disputes. Russia is convinced that the provisions of the Ilulissat Declaration are very much valid, and they should be the guidelines for the policy of any country in the Arctic. Russia trusts in the collective mechanisms and counts on them to address common challenges and to use new opportunities in the Arctic. The Arctic Council activities contributed immensely to keeping the region free from any conflict. And since I am not even in the yellow now, I will take another moment to mention that we here gather in this Arctic Circle Forum on May 8th and 9th, which are significant dates for Europe. 73 years ago, we celebrated victory in the Second World War. And this is the time for reflection. This region has seen bitter struggle during the Second World War. This was the area where northern convoys were formed in Scotland, in Iceland, and then they went along the long coast of Norway to Murmansk and Arkhangelsk, and that helped us gain the victory over Nazism. These were pages of enormous heroism, unprecedented in history, because the German U-boats were hunting, there were constant bombardments by the aviation, but these tragic but heroic pages should never be forgotten. But I should say that this region should never again see any conflict. And this is, I think, the memory of what was then when we were allies in the struggle against this common enemy, will give us strength to go forward in a very peaceful and friendly fashion as partners, friends, and really the generators of good ideas, examples for other regions in this planet. Thank you.